Hello, I'm Professor Melissa and welcome to my cruise pod. In today's discussion, we're going to talk ship specifically about what I call the anti-bucket list. All right, everyone knows what a bucket list is. It's a list of adventures or new experience that you want to do before you kick the bucket and die. I'm a big adventurer. I'm a big fan of a bucket list. I have my own bucket list, and every time I achieve a new item, I mark it down in the notes in my phone. But I recently posed a question on Facebook, which is, when it comes to cruising, what is on your anti-bucket list? And what I mean by that is, what is an excursion or an activity or a thing that you've done that you thought you really wanted to do that ended up maybe being something that you hated, or it was maybe a one and done situation. So I want to read for you some of the comments that I got, and this really sparked a lot of conversation. And then I'll share with you my personal anti-bucket list experience, which, spoiler alert, it's Damajagua Falls in Puerto, Plata, Dominican Republic, a popular cruise excursion, but more on that in a minute. So some of the results say ziplining. I got a lot of ziplining comments. I personally am okay with ziplining. It's fine, it's fun. I don't need to do it a lot. I actually kind of find it boring. Anything by Shore X Company. Oh, interesting. That is a popular excursion company provider that I see a lot. Got some people that agree with me on Damajagua Falls. Oh, someone says the ATVs. I'm curious why they didn't like that. I did ATVs in St. Kitts recently and I liked it, but I got really dirty. I'm talking like dust and dirt in every crevice of my body. I felt like I didn't get clean and get it all out for like days. Other people did waterfalls in Jamaica. It's also a popular excursion there, and said that they didn't really like it. Of course, Nassau gets a lot of hate. What else is new? Oh, cave tubing in Belize. I've heard mixed stuff on that one. So that one's interesting because that one is one that looks appealing. And I almost did it when I went to Belize, but I read the reviews and some of them scared me off. So I've heard that one before as well. So those are some of the common things that we've heard. So I'm going to tell you about my experience with Damajagua Falls, and I'll tell you and be honest about what there is to like about it, but I'll also tell you what you should know if you're going to do this excursion and what I personally didn't like about it and why for me it's now on my anti-bucket list as a one and done. All right, so if you're not familiar with Damajagua Falls, it is a natural waterfalls experience. This is specifically in Puerto, Plata in Dominican Republic, which is serviced by two cruise ports, Amber Cove, which is Carnival Holland's cruise port, and Taino Bay, which is pretty much every other cruise line. And it's a very popular excursion, very similar to Dunn's River Falls in Jamaica, which you may have heard of as well. So it's kind of like natural water slides where the water has carved into the rock and you can slide through them. Damajagua Falls bills itself as the 27 waterfalls of Damajagua Falls, but I will tell you it's a little bit misleading from the get-go because there actually are not 27 waterfalls. There are fewer, I can't tell you how many, because it can vary depending upon seasonality and the water table. But you're definitely not going to be sliding down and through 27 waterfalls. Now, if you do book this excursion or you're interested in it, I want to make sure that you have some degree of physical fitness. Now, you do not need to be Olympic athlete caliber to do this excursion, but if you're really out of shape, you have mobility issues, you have some health limitations, or you really struggle with kind of moderate or somewhat strenuous physical activity, trust me, skip this one. Because when you do the excursion, you're going to be required to take a pretty arduous hike. It's about 45 minutes, if not an hour, up a pretty steep mountain. And if that weren't bad enough or difficult or challenging enough, keep in mind, Puerto Plata, it's in the Caribbean. It's hot, it's humid. I did it in February, so it's not even peak summer season. And let me tell you, friends, I was a sweaty Betty. I'm always a sweaty Betty, so nothing else is new there. But I was really a sweaty Betty. And I didn't love the hike. I did it. They gave us lots of breaks, which is nice, the tour guides that is. So we would stop periodically, let people sit, take a break, take a drink of water. But I really did not enjoy this hike. And I was with my boyfriend and my boyfriend's brother. And my boyfriend's brother was hating life, and I think hating me because I'm the one that roped him into this excursion and he had no idea what to expect. I just told him we're gonna do some natural water slides in the rocks of the mountains and yay, and it sounds really cool. But he didn't know about that hour-long steep hike in the hot, humid rainforest. And he's a younger guy and he's not terribly out of shape, but he was struggling, my friends, struggling. Definitely a one and done for him as well. Now, my issue with this excursion, one is the physical capabilities that you do need to do it. Second is it gets really overcrowded. we were put into a group of about 20 people, and we were immediately behind another group, and there was another group behind us, which is not uncommon at all for cruise excursions, with a little gap of time in between. But with that hike up the mountain, you all of course end up kind of bunched up together. So by the time you get to the peak of the mountain and you start going down the water slides, then it's really crowded. Kind of unpleasantly crowded. I mean, there's just people everywhere. And if you read reviews, you'll find that this is a common complaint about this excursion, is that they just book way too many people. Now, I do want to give you a couple of bits of advice if I haven't scared you away from the hike and the overcrowdedness. If you do go on this excursion, keep in mind you're obviously going to be fully submerged in water. So you want to make sure you wear clothes that do well when they're wet. Now, I didn't know there was going to be this huge hike. I knew there was going to be somewhat of a walk, but not this hike. So I wore a bathing suit, but then I had regrets because I felt kind of naked traipsing up this long mountain with people kind of like right behind me and all around me, and I felt kind of uncomfortable. So unless you're really comfortable walking around basically in your underwear, I recommend wearing a bathing suit, maybe something over it. Some folks wore shorts and t-shirts. Some people actually wore full-on leggings. You also want to make sure that you have the right kind of footwear. If you don't bring water shoes, they do have water shoes there to rent to you. It's like $3 or $4 a pair. A lot of folks just wore their regular tennis shoes. Some people wore Crocs. I think they're crazy. I would not have wanted to do that hike in Crocs. Very uncomfortable, and also risk losing them because you're going to be floating in actual deep bodies of water. So make sure you wear proper footwear, but footwear that you're okay getting completely wet, because again, you will be fully submerged in water. You also can bring your phone or GoPro with you. I left mine behind, but a lot of folks wanted to bring their phones in waterproof pouches or cases around their neck, and that was fine as well. And they do have lockers there if you want to rent out and store your stuff safely and securely. So those are just a few things to know about it. But also, again, what's really important is that you know it's going to be a long hike. It's going to be very crowded. The other thing, the third really important thing I want people to know before they do this excursion, or if they do Dunn's River Falls, because apparently it's pretty much exactly the same experience, there's a pretty high risk factor of getting hurt. Now, of course, any type of adventure activity you do, there's always that risk, but I've done a lot of things. I've gone swimming with the sharks, cageless in Hawaii. I've ziplined in every country. I've done whitewater rafting and class 4 rapids. I've done a lot of adventure things. I have literally never seen so many people get injured as they did on this particular excursion. I'm talking physical gushing blood, some people being hurt and not being able to physically walk out of the attraction and needing assistance with that. And you are kind of in the remote-ish jungles of Dominican Republic. And so it's not like there's a golf cart there to just whisk you away. If you have any type of issue, you've got to get yourself back to what I call base camp. And that can be a little bit of a hike back. So make sure if you're really risk averse or you're really scared of getting hurt or you have health issues, do not do this excursion. Now, the vast majority of people do this excursion. They have no issues at all, but I saw enough injuries to make me raise an eyebrow. And with all the stuff that I do, if something makes me side-eye it, there's some cause to it. Anyway, the excursion itself is pretty awesome. Once you get to the top of that mountain, it's really refreshing. I mean, you're sweating, you're hot, you're tired, and to get to go down a natural water slide carved into rock over God knows how many years of time, and to land in this crystal clear, cold, refreshing body of water, it feels pretty cool, I do have to say. But of course, you are surrounded by a lot of people and you might have to wait. Now, if you are a little bit scared when you get there, and I saw a lot of this too, people made it up there and all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, this looks scary, I don't want to do it. There are 3 options that they give you to get to the next layer, so to speak. So you're at the top of the mountain, then there's a natural water slide, and then a body of water, and then kind of so on and so forth. You can either do the water slide, which that's the main attraction, that's what most people are there to do. But if you're a real thrill seeker, you can jump. And I wasn't about that. I did the water slides, but some people jumped, very few, but some do. And then if you're really kind of scared and you decide, I don't want to do the water slide, they do have a ladder that you can kind of go down a little more calmly. But that is a very sheer ladder usually, so it does require some physical effort to traverse that ladder. So just keep that in mind as well. They do provide you with life jackets and helmets. They are required, so you're not going to be getting any gorgeous Instagram photos because you're wearing an ugly, smelly vest and an ugly helmet. but these are obviously required for safety. You also do have to schlep those up the mountain when you do your fun little hike to the top, so keep that in mind as well. At the conclusion of all of the natural water slides, you do have to make your way back to the base camp, but it's pretty easy. It's about a 15-minute walk, and very refreshingly, it is nice flat surfaces, no more hills, mountains, no more climbing. Now, I really enjoyed this excursion. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was an exciting adventure, but I don't ever want to do it again. I know my boyfriend's brother will never do it again. So for a lot of people, it is a one and done. So am I saying don't do it? Absolutely not. If you love adventure, go for it. If you don't mind physical exertion in the name of adventure, go for it. Just know what you're getting into, because I encountered a lot of folks in our group that were having an oh crap moment. What did I get myself into? And when you're halfway up a mountain, it's difficult just to say, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to do this, and because you got to make your way back down the mountain. So just know what you're getting into before you do it. But I do think that's the case with every excursion. Excursions aren't cheap, and it also costs you time. On a cruise, you have a short port of call day, and oftentimes you only have time to do one excursion. So you want to make sure it's a good one. So I know this one sounds like a no-brainer, but always before you book an excursion, please make sure you read the reviews, because a lot of times you can be warned of things like this, or the really bad experiences like the ones that people commented about. You can avoid those if you just read the reviews in advance. So I'm curious, what's on your anti-bucket list? What have you done that you hated or that you never want to do again? And if you love all things cruising, make sure you visit my cruise blog at profmelissa.com and subscribe to the Cruise Pod.